Welcome to Invictus Motors. We've got an AMG GT S with us, and today I will tell you everything about why you should buy an AMG GT S and perhaps why it is one of my favorite cars despite being a Porsche specialist. Before we can dive into this review, don't forget to press the subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching the videos in our channel because we earn from our YouTube channel, which gets donated to a YouTube registered charity, and we've got a couple of development programs in terms of sponsoring kids in Afghanistan to go school and to essentially have a better education and a better opportunity at life. Now the AMG GT S. Firstly, what are the key differences between the GT S and the GT? Because the GT is slightly cheaper versus the GT S. The key mechanical differences over the two are the GT S obviously has more bhp. It's at 510 bhp, whereas the GT is at 475 bhp, and that also means that the torque on the GTS is higher. The 0 to 60 times are slightly lower over the GT. But additionally, the key mechanical differences over the GTS and the GT are electronically limited controlled slip differential system, as well as you've got the option of the race mode and the race start button, which is incorporated into the AMG dynamic drive select drivetrain systems. Additionally, you've also got the benefit of having the AMG ride control adaptive suspension, which is absolutely brilliant to have, which I'll illustrate in a while, because having it just in solely comfort settings can be a little bit annoying because the car just sort of wobbles sometimes when you're on an uneven road. By having the suspension into the first setting, which is called sports, firms out the suspension and gives you a much more comfortable and a smoother, and I wouldn't say in any way, form or shape a harder ride, but a firmer ride, which is actually phenomenal. As well as then, if you wanted to tune up the suspension a button above, you put it into the Sport Plus mode. So a great thing to have. And above all, what the GTS also gives you as another key mechanical difference is the AMG Performance Sports Exhaust Systems with the openable flaps. And lastly, you've got the keyless go system on the GTS, which is a standard option. Now, in terms of spec, what do we have over here with us? This is a phenomenal, beautiful 2015 GTS, which is finished in selenite grey metallic. You've got AMG spoke wheels. You've got 19-inch, they're staggered, so 19-inch at the front and 20-inch at the back. Spec-wise, this is superbly well spec'd. Firstly, they're an absolutely stunning car to look at. And when you're looking to buy one of these, I guess you've got to have the S next to it because, you know, it's just got that bit of a wow factor, slightly better performance, and obviously overall, especially the spec item change of having the suspension and the sports exhaust makes a massive difference, and having the sort of power pack difference also means the 0 to 62 miles per hour times are done in 3.8 seconds as opposed to a slightly slower time on the GT. This is finished very well spec-wise. Obviously, you've got the privacy glass at the back, you've got a rear camera, you've got the Parktronic systems, you've got the electronically folding mirrors, and you've got the AMG steering wheels, which we'll get into in a moment. But before we can talk about the inside spec, as a Porsche specialist, I see Porsche 911, 991s. This is what this is essentially competing for. Is this why Mercedes sort of brought these out? I don't know. I'm sure they know that better. But obviously, from a price range point of view, when these were brand new, this cost you £120,000. From a depreciation point of view, approximately 2 to 3 years ago, these hit rock bottom. Since then, they've slowly creeped up in value. So something like this, which has done 43,000 miles, is listed at £60,000. You get a lot of cars for £60,000. You put this on a road against a Porsche 911. No one's going to look at that 911 because they're understated, and I think they are superb. But this is just amazing. The 911s are superb because people say they're brilliant and they're great to drive. I've just spent a weekend in this and I've done about 550 miles. So let's tackle what these cars are like to drive. They're great, phenomenal Grand Tourer. Now, in terms of the weight distribution, because Porsches are brilliant to handle, brilliant to drive, this, as a matter of fact, has a better weight distribution, 47% at the front and 53% at the back. And that's because, you know, the engine is here and the transmission is in between, sort of here at the back, in between the rear axle essentially. And they haven't built or have had the rear chassis, you know, stiffened up with steel to bulk it up to get that sort of a weight distribution. As a matter of fact, they've just constructed, especially the rear hatch, with steel to have that perfect weight distribution. So 47 at the front, 53. Would you believe it if I told you that the Porsche 911 weight distribution, as a matter of fact, is 39 and 61? And the Porsche Cayman, which are, as a matter of fact, are mid-engine cars, have a weight distribution which is 46% at the front and 54 at the back. So this has a better weight distribution than a mid-engine Porsche Cayman. So that is something to speak of. That is, I think, an absolutely phenomenal thing. We need to literally jump into the driver's seat, drive it, tell you more about the performance, what it's like to drive, what it's like to sound, and both we've got to try it both in the comfort setting without having any of the electronic gimmicks switched on, and then B, with the electronic gimmicks switched on to see what life it comes up to. But before we can talk about this, let me actually just unlock the doors and just tell you what you find here. As soon as you walk in, you've got a tread plate here which says AMG. During the night, this lights up. You've got a pan roof. These are phenomenal. It brings in so much light, and the front display isn't really cluttered as such, which is, you know, a very nice thing to have. Everything is so neatly and elegantly designed, starting from the gear selector here. It's tiny, it's beautiful, but you know, it does a phenomenal job. You've got the AMG logo here, you've got the AMG written on the seats. These are obviously the AMG sport seats. They're also, you know, like 18-way adjustability with memory control. They're heated. You've got the AMG multifunctional sport steering wheel. The front seats are also heated. The buttons are all up there, and you've got a button there, of course, for the front spoiler. For the rear spoiler. It's a keyless system, so it's essentially the keys in your pocket. You walk in, press that button, the display turns on, press that button one more time, the car turns on. This is everything you need for the various modes that I talked about, especially the race mode and the race start that is incorporated with the AMG drivetrain system. So an absolutely phenomenal thing. And this is the other very key difference, which is the AMG suspension button, the adaptive suspension button that I talked about. And of course, you can change the transmission here, switch on or off the exhaust system. And we need to get onto the road, drive this beast of a car, and tell you why you should perhaps buy one of these. Because I think if I have £60,000 to spend, this is what I would be getting. Under this elongated bonnet, you've got this beautiful 4-litre V8. This is an absolute muscle of a car, but at the same time, it's actually a very economical engine. I mean, I was doing roughly 28 miles per gallon on a 550 miles trip, and I did have a slightly heavy foot because it's a car that needs to be enjoyed. And what I love about it is just this plaque over here that says handcrafted by Gökhan Keder, obviously one of the Mercedes technicians there. Let's put this down. Keys in the pocket, which doesn't need to go anywhere in the ignition. Press the engine start button first, just so that the displays can turn on, which they have. That's lovely. And we'll press that one more time. And hear the roar from the engine. And what I love immediately from the get-go is this phenomenal feeling of being sandwiched between the roar of the V8 at the front and the grunt of the AMG Sports exhaust system at the back. And right now we're going through this road that leads up into our business and away from our business, which one might think might not be suitable for a supercar and a performance car like this, but it's actually a good way to measure what it feels like to drive it on a not so made up road as we're so used to in first world countries. The AMG sports steering wheel is wrapped in Alcantara. It is a dream to have your hands wrapped around, and offers me plenty of grip. Actually, left turn right. So just poodling around in the normal standard settings, comfortable car, the perfect GT. But wait for it until I turn on the sports exhaust. And this is the sports exhaust on. All the other settings, such as the suspension, the transmission, everything else is in bog standard comfort mode. And if you like to drive like that, but having a bit of a grunt from the exhaust system, then be it. But we want to have a bit of fun, so let's put it in sports mode. So the suspension, as a matter of fact, is now in sports mode. Sports exhaust is turned on, and the transmission is still an automatic, and having the suspension only in the middle firmness, you automatically feel that the beast has awoken. And it offers absolutely sublime handling. And the phenomenal thing about this is it also having the dual clutch DCT transmission. It is so futuristic because essentially you've got two gearboxes working parallel to each other in one transmission. And the two gearboxes, as a matter of fact, they work off odd and even numbers. So once you floor the accelerator, how quickly it drops from fifth to second happens in a split second, and there is absolutely zero delay. That torque to wheel lag that you normally get with the conventional single clutch gearboxes, that's been completely eliminated. On long journeys, I absolutely love my Range Rovers because of the comfort it offers, and what it feels like being able to do a 300-mile journey to my destination in South Wales without having to feel like that I've been broken up in pieces and then put back together. And that's why I love the Range Rovers. When you drive the AMG GT in the comfort settings, other than just having the suspension, actually, as a matter of fact, in that medium firmness, you don't feel like you're in a car in any way, form or shape which essentially wears you out. You essentially feel like what I've described from a feeling point of view when I drive, a Range Rover Sport or a Land Rover Vogue. And that's for me the key attribute of this phenomenal Grand Tourer. This is a perfect Grand Tourer. And at no point does the engine or the transmission or does any of the performance gimmicks feel, as if it's a bit of a jerky ride. Because the performance from the V8 4-litre 510 bhp 650 newton meters of torque is progressive. it is just so refined, and it just keeps giving, and it just, at no point does it feel like that in the lower gears it's got too much torque, or in the middle or the higher gears it's got too much torque. It's just evened out really well and feels a dream come true to drive. And above all, you know, I could go somewhere in a 911, which is beautiful, elegant, understated, but this brings a different level of a thrill in my life in comparison to a Porsche 911. And for a very, very long time, this was my dream car. And you know, this is when Mercedes introduced these, and I'm very fortunate to have one in stock and to be able to drive one as I have for the past weekend. And you know, it's been an absolutely joy of a ride. And if we go back to comfort, the sports exhaust is now back into the standard settings, so the valves have been shut, and the suspension is completely in comfort mode. Feels very natural, feels very normal as I'm, you know, driving any other luxury comfortable car. And above all, it's an absolutely show car. I think it's a truly magnificent work of engineering. They're elegant, beautifully crafted, designed. The engines are super reliable. This also has a full main dealer service history, so extremely well looked after. It's got the Michelin Pilot 4 sports tires, which all have plenty of tread. It's got the vented discs, so the braking system is very responsive. The parking sensors are going all a bit nutsy on this narrow road. And on the interior, it's got all of the modern day tech you need, such as, you know, your mobile Bluetooth connectivity for the calls, for the music. You've got a very good colorful display, which you can use to, you know, select maps and to select all the various settings that you have provided for in the car. And parking sensors off one more time. And lastly, what could you expect from a future value point of view in something like this? As I've said, they've hit rock bottom in terms of depreciation a couple of years ago, and they've just gone up and up in value. And I can't see any further depreciation in this. I think over the next couple of months, over the next couple of years, I think all we will see is these cars going up in value. And they're an absolute dream of a car to essentially own, drive, and have in your garage. So I just want to say thank you for tuning in to watch the video. I hope it's given you some sort of a context on the AMG GT. If you're in the market to buy something like this, we have this currently available in stock. And if we don't have this available by the time you've watched this video, and you're perhaps interested in treating yourself to something like this, then I strongly encourage you to perhaps consider one. And it's little things like having the rear view camera, which are a great thing to have on this, which essentially, you know, makes life very easy. So thank you for tagging along to watching the video, and hopefully if you've got any questions, feel free to get in touch. Thank you. See you in the next video.